Jaws Wired Shut is a pretty decent episode of The Simpsons. It's not one of my favourites, but there were still a lot of things about it that I think worked quite well. It's the ninth episode of the 13th season, started by Jim Reardon and Nancy Kruse, and it's got 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb, which for this point in The Simpsons is a pretty average, maybe slightly above average rating. And it starts off, or quite early on, starts off with a wonderful scene in the cinema or the movie theatre where Homer is getting really annoyed at the amount of previews. And I just think, I feel you. I completely get it. I'd rather they spent money with advertising rather than passing the costs on to the customer, but still, sometimes they can get a little bit extreme. And then one thing leads to another. I won't say exactly how it develops, but he ends up having to get his jaws wired shut because he has an injury to the mouth. And quite beautifully, he learns that without the ability to talk, he discovers the ability to listen, and he begins to listen to Marge and finds that actually she has some interesting things to say about Flanders and Lisa and Bart, and he becomes a different person and a much more loving and giving person. But not everything is as it seems. Not everything is what Marge would have expected, and I don't want to say any more than that. The progression that it took, the last kind of 5 minutes, initially I didn't like it because it's not something I'm interested in. And you'll know what I mean kind of when you see it, but I don't want to spoil it. But then there was a parody of a popular TV character who I love, and I loved the parody, and I thought that that played out very well. So actually, as I felt like I was starting to lose a bit of interest, it managed to kind of recapture my attention with a really brilliant parody. So I liked it. I did. As I said, it's not one of my favourites. It's not even one of my favourites from season 13. This is a slightly mixed bag season, but generally pretty decent. Jaws Wired Shut is certainly better than average, and there are a lot of things about it that I think work quite well. It's just not my personal favourite. But nevertheless, it's an episode that I enjoyed. It's one that I will happily watch again, and I think that it provides some good food for thought about if you're the kind of person who always talks about yourself, maybe, you don't have to go and get your jaw wired shut, but maybe stop and listen to somebody else. You never know how enjoyable you might find the experience. But either way, even if it doesn't apply to you, Jaws Wired Shut is still a pretty good episode.